So how do you think we can change as a society?
I mean, first and foremost, like, we need to, like, remove the stigma that these types of things should be taboo when they're not. I mean, like, I take care of my young cousins sometimes, or my young nephews, and like, I try to be the best example I can be to them. I try to tell them, especially if they're boys, as soon as they're able to comprehend, they should learn. They should learn what they can do to help progress society, and what they can do to help change it for a better future. Because if we don't start now, when can we start? I mean, like, if you're capable of doing something today, do it. If you think I can do it tomorrow, parang what's the point? I mean, like, if you can do it today, what's stopping you?
Hello guys, welcome to At the Back Door. If you're new here, I'm your host, Yvanne Evangelista, and this is the place where we talk about everything taboo. So our topic for today is about toxic masculinity with my schoolmate, actually, Jamie Garcia.
Yes,
hello,
hello.
Jamie. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So toxic masculinity, did you have like toxic masculinity sa sarili mo before?
I mean, growing up, I think it was instilled in me, like, because I am the eldest, and I was always the one who was expected to be the strong one, the one who always needed to look out for his younger siblings, and I get that. I get why both my mom and dad expected that of me, and I also sort of expected that of myself. But over time, I think when it came down to it, it affected me in the sense that it helped instill this mindset that I needed to shunter my feeling. Because growing up, I would always hear the phrase "man up." Like, if I was starting to cry, if I felt vulnerable, like, a lot of times I'd hear the phrase "man up," or like, just don't be a wimp, don't be a pussy, things like that. Like, looking back on it, I think about how it's still prevalent in today's society, not just with people my age, but rather younger people, older people, and it sort of bothers me a bit. So, you know.
So how did you deal with it?
I think over time I had to unlearn what was holding me back from whatever was holding my feelings in. Because even when I try to talk about it with, whether it's my therapist or my friends, I make sure that I want them to feel safe. I want them to feel like there's no judgment, that whatever I say, whatever they want to say to me, I can be that sort of emotional pillar, and in turn, I hope that they be an emotional pillar for me as well.
So because you've experienced the opposite, you're now giving them the space to just feel your emotions, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How did you unlearn these toxic traits? Did you have a example growing up, or?
Well, kasi, like, in today's political landscape, like in America, you have former President Trump, who said things like, "Oh, grab him by the pussy," like, as long as you're famous. And parang, are you for real?
Yeah.
And like, the fact that people defended him, like, not just men but women as well, like, there were actual women who said it would be an honor to do that, and I just went, no. I'm sorry to say, but our current president, like, he said, shoot them down there, like, those terrorists, especially if they're women, or like, I allowed my soldiers to do this to them, or like, when he just grabbed random women on stage. I think that sort of leads down a rabbit hole. I mean, like, you know that phrase, "boys will be boys"? Like, that's a phrase thrown around here or there, and like, you know how, like, if they start fights, that it'll be boys will be boys, or like if they get caught doing something that they're not supposed to, boys will be boys.
Yeah, they're always excused.
Exactly. Like, there needs to be a point where accountability needs to take place first and foremost. And when I thought of it that way, like, I thought about how one action can always lead to another. I felt that if it starts with one action, then change can also start with another action.
Okay, so that's how you got out of that cycle. Well, good for you. Kasi there's a lot of people na who's still stuck in there. And I understand why they're still stuck. Kasi yun nga, even our president, ganun din siya. So it's really hard. And sa mga men, parang ang baba na ng standard for men na you just have to be decent then, oh my God, you're an amazing guy. And that's not, it's not good for you guys. Kasi parang hanggang dun lang kayong level na we're not
Parang the bare minimum.
Yeah, just the bare minimum na lang yung kaya nyo, which is not true. And like yung sinabi mo kanina, off-cam, even women is affected by this. Can you explain that?
So, like, I always think about how in the years that democracy has been in action, women were only allowed to vote, like, whether it's the Western countries or here, in the early 1900s. And
that's so recent.
Exactly. Like, parang they went by with it. I mean, sure, there were many suffragettes who were fighting and campaigning, rallying, talking about how they deserved the right to democracy, which is what democracy should be. Everyone gets a say. And I also think about how, like, in the 1950s or 1940s, about how women were always put in this place that, oh, they're the ones who are supposed to be the homemakers, they're the ones who are supposed to provide for their husbands, like, because the husbands make all the money. And why can't it be both ways? Like, why can't it be that women also work, but at the same time they be compassionate, that they be caring? Because guys can be that too. They can be the money makers, but also
the homemakers.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I read that there's a division of genders, nilang men and women, ang dami pa, because they want men to be just the top para merong segregation sa mga kasama na rin sa racism and colorism. They want to segregate everyone that's like below them so that they would always be on top, right? Tapos, regarding naman like sa meninism, kasi people also talk about toxic femininity. It exists, pero it exists in the context because of toxic masculinity. Like, why are women pitting other women together? It's because of the male gaze, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's your thoughts on meninism?
Well, on the basis that, like, say for example, like, when it comes to families being separated because of unhappy marriages, or like men who have this preconceived notion that they're the ones who are supposed to be emotionally stunted. I agree in the sense that men should be emotionally vulnerable, but I also don't believe that men are the number one victims. Like, it's case per case. Like, you can't generalize everything. You can't put everything into just one bracket. Yeah,
but if we look at the statistics, the crimes being committed to other genders is mostly men, and yung mga victims of the men na victims din ng other men, like men din yung nagka-create ng crimes na yon. So it's mostly men, and men are the ones making all of these rules na why we're existing this way in society, right? So they're like making their own problems.
Yeah, I mean, like, you look at the Congress and Senate, or like any country in the world, like, it's mostly a male-dominated profession. Like politics, you have men who are making rules for women. Like, whether or not they have the right to health care or basic things like reproduction rights or things like that. And I really don't think men should be making those decisions for women.
True. What are your thoughts regarding people that don't like feminism?
I get why it would turn off some people, but I also don't believe that in this whole radical feminism movement, they have to be in your face, because I really think you're just reinforcing the stereotypes on the people that don't like feminism. Like, I consider myself a feminist, but it's only because I feel that I was raised by a strong woman. I was raised by a strong lola. I had strong women influences around me, and I feel that if they can constantly work day in, day out just to provide for the people they care about the most, I feel that women should have that right, like, everywhere. Like, there are still countries that are anti-women. Like, they get to dictate what the age of consent is, whether or not they're allowed to have abortions, or whether or not they're allowed to get out of abusive relationships.
Yung mga ibang topics that other men who don't like feminism, they victim blame women na because we express ourselves sexually, they feel like they have the right to our own sexuality, right? Hindi nila mapasok sa kukote nila na women can express themselves sexually, and it's not an invitation.
Yeah, in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
Parang the basics of consent are a foreign concept to them.
Yeah, sobrang alien sa kanila. Sa feminism these days, I've heard a discussion about how, if you're really a feminist as a cisgender man, cisgender man, like, how can you actively participate in the feminism movement?
Personally, I think the best way to talk about it is not be afraid to talk about it. I mean, of course, there will always be people who will disagree with you. Like, you can't force them to agree with you. I mean, that's just, to me, I don't think that's what the basis of a healthy society is. But rather, I think it's more important to have healthy discussions about it, to say, like, what's right and what's wrong, and to find common ground.
Yeah. Madami rin kasing mga men who say that they're feminist, pero once they see the wrongdoings right in their face, like sa friends nila or within their family, they don't do anything. They're just a bystander, right? So they're not actively participating, and if you're not actively participating, like, kulang pa yung pagiging feminist mo.
Exactly.
I think. For example, if we don't feel safe out in the streets, and we want men or other peoples to be allies of us so that women could be more safe on the streets, and we want, for example, if we're walking on the street, don't walk behind us or don't run because it's scary, or like if you're walking across the street, and other men, they're very against that kasi they don't want to be, kasi sinasabi nila na, why are you putting the blame on me, wala pa nga akong ginagawa, I'm not part of the problem. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like, I also get ticked off because like, they go, oh, it's your problem, how am I affected? Parang, isn't that the basics of human decency? Like, if someone tells you there's a problem within, like, why not do to the best of your ability to help?
Yeah. Meron din akong nakausap about how women participate in their own abuses. It was a long conversation, pero he's a guy. It was a long conversation, pero ang pino-point out niya kasi is that women can choose not to be abused. And I have to explain to him na our society is not educated about sex education and about consent. And if a wrongdoing is done sa amin, it's not our fault. We didn't put ourselves in that situation. Like, who would choose that, right?
Yeah, no one ever chooses to be abused.
Yeah. So, ayun, I think these simple concepts, they're so hard to make other people to understand. So we have to keep actively participating in the conversation. And marami rin mga feminist guys na nakikita nila na they talk about women in a really bad way, pero they don't call them out kasi, you know, boys will be boys, tropa-tropa. So, yeah. So how do you think we can change a society?
I mean, first and foremost, like, we need to, like, remove the stigma that these types of things should be taboo when they're not. I mean, like, I take care of my young cousins sometimes, or my young nephews, and like, I try to be the best example I can be to them. I try to tell them, especially if they're boys, like, as soon as they're able to comprehend, they should learn. They should learn what they can do to help progress society, and what they can do to help change it for a better future. Because if we don't start now, when can we start? I mean, like, if you're capable of doing something today, do it. If you think, oh, I can do it tomorrow, parang what's the point? I mean, like, if you can do it today, what's stopping you?
Yeah, and feminism is also for guys because we believe in you. We don't believe that you guys are just fucking maniacs that can't control themselves. We actually are rooting for you, that you're a really good guy, that you can control your dicks.
Not just in regards to dicks, but there's still a gender pay gap.
Yeah. It affects not just women, men, LGBTQIA, like everyone. So just be decent and let people be. So yeah, I guess that's it, Jamie. Do you have any more additional points that you want to talk about?
I mean, I think we very much covered it. So
Yeah, okay.
good.
All right. Thank you so much, Jamie, for talking about this toxic
Yes.
masculinity. If you guys enjoyed that video, please click the like button down below, and don't forget to comment if you have any more questions regarding feminism, or you have any negative reactions. We would also love to hear that. And let's just keep a conversation going, because that's how we progress as a society. So, all right. Thank you guys, and see you on the next video. Bye!